Construction grade lumber sucks. You use screws to hold the structure together, but you use Sir Isaac Newton to hold the tank up. Gravity, that's a bad joke. All of the weight of this tank sits on these four legs, and that weight is transferred all the way down to the floor. And all of a sudden I heard a loud pop, and I immediately just cold sweat. I started freaking out. What? Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Fishlist and my name is Jake. The goal of this channel is to share with you my experiences in fish keeping and hopefully learn from you and maybe let you learn from me, mostly my failures. So today I'm going to talk about one of those failures and a lesson that I learned that was a hard-learned lesson, although it didn't end in catastrophe, but it was very scary, and that is about my fish tank stands. I have already finished building them. You can see one upside down behind me here. But I will go over the design that I use for building stands for big fish tanks. First, I'm gonna show you the design that I use for big fish tanks. Then I'm gonna take you down to the fish room and show you the design that I use on smaller fish tanks. This is the leg. This is the basic structure of the leg. And what it is this creates a lip right here. You build a box that sits on top of this lip that supports the entire tank. All of the weight of the tank sits on this lip right here. This part sticking up is a spot so that you can screw the leg directly into the box of the stand. Just understand that dimensional lumber, meaning lumber that you get from a hardware store, but construction grade lumber is what it is. Construction grade lumber sucks. Well, I mean, obviously you can build houses with it, so it can't be too bad. But when it comes to making things flat and straight and true, construction grade lumber is terrible. In fact, I'll say when you go to the store to pick this stuff out, you know, do the old, I bet they all laugh at us when we're at the store doing this, but you know, we're like looking down the wood this way, trying to see if it's straight, and they're just like, dude, just take the dang wood, get out of here and stop making a mess of that pile. I'm pretty sure that's what they think about when I'm there, but I pick through everything and I try to find the straightest stuff that I can find. So now when I build this structure, I build a really strong box and I let it sit on this really, really strong leg. And so then over time, as the wood dries and warps and sits under the thousands of pounds of weight that you put on top of it, it will settle over time, but it won't be able to break this structure. I do this with just screws, just to hold this together. But screws cannot support the weight of a fish tank. They can support the structure. So you use screws to hold the structure together, but you use Sir Isaac Newton to hold the tank up. Gravity, that's a bad joke. Don't worry about that. But anyway, so this is the leg and I'll show you the box. Okay, I can't fit this all in the frame, but this is the box. So all it is a cross beam that's the exact length. The end right there, it's a butt joint. That's called a butt joint when you have two pieces of wood butted up against each other and you're just holding it together with screws. And then I add these cross beams all throughout the middle that prevent these outside pieces of wood from twisting like that. So this is the box, that's the leg. Let me show you what it looks like when it's put together. All right, so this is it. It's pretty simple. You take the box, you position the legs so that the box sits on the lip out here. You put that longer piece up through the middle, and then you screw it in here. So that holds the leg to the main structure that holds up your fish tank. These hold this part together like I showed you, and this structure can support tons and tons of weight. The only thing that you could do to maybe make this even stronger is that you could build out the bottom down here. You can add cross sections between the legs and kind of build it out cabinet style. Now I'll take you downstairs to the fish room and I'll show you some of the other designs that I use on my smaller tanks. So this is a pretty common design, but really all it is it's just two 2x4s stacked together. And you see there's one there at the bottom. and you build a box and you set it in there. So that's kind of my small stand design. It's pretty simple. They're just 4 legs and you just attach them to a box. There actually is nothing underneath, no cross beam, just a simple box that I use to sit on these legs. So all of the weight of this tank sits on these 4 legs, and that weight is transferred all the way down to the floor, just like that. So that is my smaller tank design, and all that leads into my horror story of building this stand right here, which is super heavy duty and doing great now. But when I first built this is a stack with a 210 gallon on top and a 180 gallon on the bottom. So this thing is packing a ton of weight. But when I built this stand, I used the design from my small tanks. And I did use bigger pieces of wood, like I used the 2x6 as the cross beam, but I used that other design and it wasn't enough. And so what happened is one night I was sitting down here, the 180 gallon was not in place at the time, luckily, or else this could have been even worse. And I was sitting on the couch and with my daughter, so we're both sitting right underneath this thing, and all of a sudden I heard a loud pop, and I immediately just cold sweat. I started freaking out. What was that? And what it was that the end design, I'm gonna go back to the small tank because I can't show you in this one because this one's the good one. But the wood right here was starting to separate this way, and so what the pop was there was a screw that was starting to pull out, and the weight was sitting on those beams, all that vertical weight, but the board itself right here was a little warped. And so what had happened was that it was kind of starting to come apart because the way the board was warped, the weight was starting to push it apart. So I immediately put some vertical pieces of some 2x4s right under here. I just banged them into place. I didn't even screw them in. And that supported the weight of the stand, which gave me enough time to drain the tank and move all the fish. Luckily, there were less fish and a whole lot less rocks at the time. And so I was able to move all the fish, drain the weight, take it all apart. And at that point, I used the stand idea that I have just showed you when I built this stand. One of the things that I will point out that's different about this one than the one upstairs in the garage is that I used a 2x8. So the wider the plank that you put right here, the less likely that the entire thing is to bow under the weight. So if you're using big weight, then it's a good idea to use wider planks of wood, which is what I did here. So that's the stand that I almost screwed up on and almost had a horrible time with. All right, thanks guys. Those are my 2 stand designs. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section down below. Fwishlist out.